Hi everyone and welcome back to National League Lowdown with me, Dan. As you can see, I'm joined by Craig and Louis. Craig, how are you, mate? You okay?
Yeah, not too bad. A bit of a weird one being at a Braintree game on a Sunday today. Not the most thrilling game. A good game, but just a little lack of quality from both teams in the final third. But we'll come on to that more later.
Yeah, definitely, mate. Definitely. And Louis, how are you, mate?
Yeah, not too bad. Result aside from today, poor result from us, poor performance the last half an hour, and I've just been in the cinema watching Avatar for 3.5 hours, so my brain is like mush. Uh, but yeah, looking forward to chat about National League football.
Sounds like a perfect day. Yeah, so obviously we're going to get into the 12 days of Christmas that the zone we're talking about. We've all took in quite a bit of National League football this weekend. I think we've all watched probably more games than we do normally. So I'll get the ball rolling with Friday night's game, which was Altrincham 0, Rochdale 3. I think Callum posted it on our socials, but I put it in the group chat. Said the first half was probably the most comfortable performance I've seen from anyone in the league this season. Altrincham didn't lay a glove on Rochdale. Bear in mind, obviously, Rochdale made a lot of changes. They had injuries. Manny D wasn't playing. There was a lot of rotation with a lot of games coming thick and fast for them. They took the lead through Joe Pritchard, and then the second goal for me was just absolutely beautiful to see. The ball was in the corner. They didn't give it up. Got the ball back in the corner, pulled the ball back. Great curling finish in the top corner from Conor McBride, and then from there it was just they were coasting really. Defence didn't have a lot to do. Altrincham in the second half, they did come back into it a little bit, forced a couple of saves from Broom in goal. But in general, I just don't think they laid a glove on them. The chances that we'll create were from Rochdale sitting back, having the cushion of that 2-goal lead. And then later on, Tyler Smith off the bench got the third goal, put a gloss on it. And I think I commented on their social media. It went down quite well. I ended up with a few Rochdale followers afterwards saying that it looked like a champion's performance from them. If you're going to win a league, they're the games you go to. Weather wasn't great. Busy schedule around Christmas time, rotation. You go there and you win comfortably and emphatically. And yeah, massive credit to Rochdale. I would say, obviously, with Rochdale being top at Christmas, I know it's tight up there, but I think out of the teams that are up there, you look at the Yorks, the Forest Greens, and Rochdale. I think Rochdale probably deserve to be there. I think they've been the most consistent team. I know York had a shaky start, obviously changing manager. They're flying now. Forest Green have had their dip as well, but Rochdale have been consistent right across the board. So we get accused of obviously hating on Rochdale. So this is your, 3 minutes of credit, massive credit to them. Altrincham, I know Louis mentioned it previously as well with Altrincham, that he's not entirely sure that they're out of trouble, that they could get suckered back in. And I do think that when I watched it, that really lacked that cutting edge in the final third. And again, I know it's Rochdale, so it was probably arguably the best team in the league. So you can't read too much into it, but there was worrying signs there that just looked like they weren't going to score if they played all day. So I do worry for them. But massive credit to Rochdale, deservedly top at Christmas. Next up, we've got Louis. We've got your game, which was Woking 1, Scunthorpe 2.
Yeah, just a quick one before we move on to that game. All those Rochdale fans that were calling for Jim McNulty's head towards the end of last season, don't think we can hear you saying that now. Yeah, watch your words. Yeah, so I had Woking Scunthorpe, an intriguing game. This one was coming into it. Obviously, Woking on very good form. Scunthorpe had a bit of a blip, but Danny Whitehall was back in the side for them. Got his goal in the 18th minute, a lovely diving header from the penalty spot, and it was well worked down the right hand side from Roberts to lead in the build up and put across the box for him to open the scoring. Both sides had chances in the first half, but Scunthorpe probably edged it. I think Kelly hit the bar just before Scunthorpe opened the scoring as well. Sellers Fleming in the second half that's gone out on our socials is a lovely Tom Daly impression with his dive for a penalty. I don't know whether either of you've seen it. It's quite a shocking attempt. I think he should get a second yellow for then looking confused when he looks up and is surprised at being booked. Yeah, pretty shocking from him trying to con that one out of the referee. And then Declan Howe came off the bench and thumped home a second from a narrow angle with about 15 minutes left. And I think Scunthorpe deserved it from the balance of play. I think Woking weren't really at it. They did get their consolation just before the end from Asude. Nice finish from him from the edge of the penalty area. But a first defeat in the league for Woking since the 27th of September. Neil Ardley said afterwards that they were always second best in the game. Maybe sometimes you have a blip in the game. Maybe it's not something for Woking to worry about. They have been on a really good run and they've closed that gap to the playoffs. But maybe it suggests that Scunthorpe are just that bit better than them and maybe not the side that they're going to catch if Woking want to get in the playoffs. And Woking's next 4 games, when you look at them, at Eastleigh away, Braintree at home, Hartlepool at home, and Wealdstone away. So some games that they could look to get some points over the festive period. As I said, only 4 points off to playoffs. Sorry, Greg. But they've only picked up 12 points from 12 games at home. So that's where they need to pick up in the second half of the season. For Scunthorpe, massive win. I think this is first away from home since the 1st of October. 6 points from the top of the table now. So are they in this title race, I think, is the question. I think they are in it. I think they've got a slim chance. They've shown over the course of the season that they can put on good runs of form, unlike some of the teams in the playoff places, Cough, Southend. But we'll obviously come on to that later. But yeah, I think Scunthorpe are in it, but I think it might be just a big ask for them. But one defeat against the other sides in the playoffs is a good run of show for them, and they'll look forward to the festive period, I think.
I'm fuming, Louis. I was sitting there on a stat the whole time, and then you brought it out just before the end.
You can't beat you can't beat the resident stat man. Can't beat him. Next up is me again, which was Boston 0, Aldershot 2. Now this game pleasantly surprised me, to be honest. I think I messaged the lads saying I'm not expecting much from this. First half was probably one of the most entertaining games of football I've seen, whether that was for the good or bad reasons. You know, early on, there's a lot of sloppy, misplaced passes. I can't imagine. Obviously, both managers have been on the podcast. They talked about the standards that they set and stuff. I can't imagine they were happy with the first 10 minutes, either manager. And then the game absolutely burst into life. Boston got a penalty. The man who's named after a shop missed. Obviously, it was well saved, but I don't think he struck it right. Comfortable save, I would say, like with his feet. And then literally Aldershot went right down the other end. Great run from Josh Barrett down the left. Down the left, yeah. I'm trying to remember, yeah. Down the left. Yeah, it was a great... And then obviously a goal from nothing, really, where they were probably expecting to be a goal down. Then they're a goal in front. And then it was like it just kicked off this basketball game where there was a chance at one end, chance at another. There was a clearance off the line from the Boston defender. Then Aldershot went up the other end. There was another clearance off the line at that end. And it was just totally like end to end. And obviously Aldershot got the second goal as well from Ryan Hill. Again, great work, Josh Barrett again. And I thought, to be honest, he was probably like the best player. And obviously the second goal was Theo Widrington from the corner. It was well worked, but again, it went through the defender's legs, I thought. And you know, it's one of them where you think, should the keeper have done better? But he probably didn't see it if it went right through the defender's legs. So
that old Chris Kamara saying, isn't it? If it goes through the defender's legs, it goes in the back of the net.
Yeah, it was. If he meant it, it was a great finish. I'm not entirely sure he was going right for through the legs, but yeah. And like I say, it was a really end-to-end half and really chaotic. Again, not something I would associate with a John Coleman or a Graham Coughlin side. The chaotic nature of it. Second half was a bit more of a dull affair. A bit more what I expected from the start, where Boston were pushing, but there just wasn't really anything happening. They made changes. They were trying to change things up, and there was nothing in front of goal in the second half. If anything, it was more a case of Aldershot hitting them on the break. Josh Barrett had another couple of chances. For me, best player on the pitch, by quite a distance. Could have had a couple of goals, but just it was an outlet all the time. When Boston were building pressure, they would just clear it, and Josh Barrett had chased the lost causes. You know, earn a foul, earn a free kick, things that you want from people like that. And like I say, for me, Aldershot now, that's back-to-back league wins after we thought they were pretty much dead and buried. They now look like they could get out of trouble. Boston, I worry for them a little bit, but like Louis rightfully said to me before we came on here, that he said that they do just have a habit of picking up results that will keep them above water. So I believe Louis, the stat man, he knows his stuff. So, like I say, a big win for Aldershot, but I do worry for Boston because it's a couple of home games I've watched them now. I watched them get beat 4-0 off Morecambe at home, watched them 2-0 off Aldershot at home, and, you know, it's worrying signs for them. And you could tell there was a bit of displeasure in the supporters as well. You know, they weren't happy either. So, worrying signs for them. But massive credit to John for turning things around at Aldershot. Craig, you're up next, and I believe you've got York 4, Truro 0.
That's correct. I do indeed. The Ollie Pearce show. First half hat trick for him. An excellent performance. A routine home win for the York side that you'd probably expect. They're absolutely flying. They're scoring goals for fun, and they don't seem to concede as many. There was a time when they were winning 4-2s, 4-1s. They seem to have got the clean sheets tidied up as well, which we've talked about defences winning championships. If you've got the strikers they have, and then you can stop the team scoring as well, you're going to win every game. And it feels that is the case for York at the moment. On a Truro perspective, have they never seen Ollie Pearce play football? Just 5 minutes in, you're supposed to be keeping things defensively tight. You're away at a free-scoring team, and he's got the freedom of the penalty box to header home. And when you're 1-0 down to York after 5 minutes, it's going to be an extremely long day. A special mention to Josh Stones for the third goal. Long ball, headed it down to a player, spun into the channel, and then probably could have scored himself, but just gave his teammate the easier finish and his hat-trick. And that Pearce-Stones combination is absolutely frightening for them. And to be fair, York probably played the second half in second gear. Probably a little bit of freedom, a little bit of relaxed, save some in the legs for Boxing Day. And they added a fourth late on to put a little bit more gloss on it. Truro, we all know for Truro, these aren't the games that are going to keep them up. These are the games that are that free hit, if you can say such a thing in National League football. They're not expected to get something from York away. They picked up a result at home to Wealdstone midweek. They'll be looking for some more results, maybe against Yeovil on Boxing Day. Those kind of fixtures will be the ones that ultimately determine their fate this year. But yeah, don't give Ollie Pearce a free header after 5 minutes and your day won't be so hard.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds self-explanatory, but obviously people struggle with it. But I watched that game as well, and I just thought from Truro's perspective, I get it when they're tired later on and there's a bit of space and that, but early on, it's criminal. You've got to keep it tight. Got to keep it tight, and they didn't, and were punished. Next up, Louis, we've got Tamworth 2, Southend 1 from you.
Yeah, Tamworth picking up their 3 points, first 3 points for a long time for them. Tom Tonks causing troubles again with his long throw. Adeng and Dyer in goal, basically caught the ball, flapped at it, dropped it, and Colleen Libbard opened the score in 20 minutes with a tap in at the back post. He did make up for that mistake in the 40th minute, though. A ball was put over the top for Creaney. Creaney had a half volley on the outside of his foot, and it was an outstanding save from Adeng and Dyer. Really acrobatic save that was. It's probably kept them in the game, I reckon. They go 2-0 down there going into half time, it would have been a bit of a difficult chance getting back into it. Luckily, they went 1-0 down and obviously got their equaliser just after half time from Coker. Nice ball, nice finish from the outside of the area, sort of stroked it home the near post. And they had a brief spell then for about 10 or 15 minutes where they sort of tested Tamworth's back line, had a couple of maybe half chances where you could argue they could have scored one or two maybe. But then at the other end, Mayer regained their lead with 20 minutes left. A deflected shot that went through. And Southend didn't really test them until sort of the last 5 or 10 minutes. There was a chance for Austin at the back post with about 3 minutes to go where he's on the edge of the 6-yard box and he has a free hit and he skies it and he should at least get it on target. And then there was a great scramble in the box in injury time, great ping ball. Tamworth putting the bodies on the line. I think there was a high foot in there. One of the players for Tamworth went down with a head injury at one point. And then it finished with a great save from our friend Jazz Singh in the end. Kind of like the Altrincham and Scunthorpe scramble that we mentioned a couple of weeks ago in the wet weather. Yeah, great football that was. Great fun to watch. So yeah, as I said, big win for Tamworth. First home win since the 20th September. Only 4 points off the playoffs as well. There seems to be a bunch of teams that are sort of queuing up now. Especially with Bend obviously being a bit hit and miss. Obviously, as we said, we've had one comment saying they're in the title race. I think this is well and truly them out of the title race now. I wouldn't have put them in it before this game, and I definitely won't be putting them in it after this game. But as I said, with Tamworth, as you say, 4 points off the playoffs. They've played 6 of the top 7 in their last six games, and they've got an easier run of fixtures to come now. So maybe they can look to put a few wins back to back and pick up a few points over the festive period. But on Southend's point of view, I just don't think they're consistent enough. 14 points off the league leaders at the moment, and I think there's just a gap between them and the top 6. We've obviously spoken on previous podcasts about being the best title race, which teams are in it. their record against the teams they played in the top 6 is 1-0, drawn 2, and lost 3. They're yet to play Rochdale. Obviously, they've got to go up there for a third time after Rochdale's horrendous pitch. But yeah, for Southend, they need to get a bit of consistency going. They had some at the start of the season. They haven't really shown it since then, I don't think, and that's going to be an issue for them if they want to cling on to that last spot, because it's looking quite interesting now with the sides that are chasing them down for it.
Yeah, it's becoming quite a race there, actually. I did look earlier on, like I say, Woking, Wealdstone, Halifax, they're all in there with the shout, and Southend will be looking over the shoulders. So we appreciate everyone who comments into the podcast and everything. But when you're commenting like Southend's in the title race and things like that, and then obviously you get beat, we're going to bring it up. So, like I said, don't think we're just going to dig people out. But you know, when you're putting outrageous claims like that in, your team's got to back it up, and they didn't. So we'll mention it. Next up, we've got Yeovil 0, Forest Green 2, which is Craig.
Yeah, the Forest Green train just keeps rolling on at the moment. We had this down as a potential banana skin for them. Yeovil in good form, and it was fairly routine in the end for them. They were the better side. Temi Babalova opened the scoring after 16 minutes. It was one of them really good strikers finishes where all the defenders are just rushing back towards the goal, and he just held his space on the edge and then fired home well. The second goal, though, was very fortuitous, shall we say, and there was a suspicion for offside, which Jed Ward and these defenders felt very aggrieved about afterwards. It looked to me that the player was just onside on the left-hand side. He's crossed it across, and it's kind of ricocheted. It's hit Jed Ward and trickled over the line. I'm not sure who the striker was, but he's watched it trickle over the line. And if I'm that striker, I'm scoring the easiest goal of the life. I'm just tapping it in rather than watching an own goal go in. But that's just me on that one. And then obviously, yeah, Jed Ward picked up a yellow card in that for his complaints. Forest Green did go down to 10 in the 65th minute. Harvey Bunker picking up his second yellow, which you think could give Yeovil an opening in. And they tested Harry Stead a couple of times, but nothing too much of note. He had a fairly comfortable day. And for Robbie Savage and Forest Green now, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 unbeaten in the league. Just making sure I got that correct. Just counting it one more time. 8 unbeaten in the league. And yeah, close to Rochdale. I think it's just different goal difference stopping them being top at Christmas. So they'll be very, very happy with their start, especially making 20 signings and probably ripping up the style from last season completely to be able to compete at the top. They'll be very, very happy with that. Yeovil, Billy Rowley, first defeat. I think a few fans were disappointed with how timid they were and how poor they were on the day. But 2 wins out of his first 3, you take that as him. And Truro away next for them, which isn't an easy one on Boxing Day. It's supposed to be a local game, but nothing's local to Truro, really. So a little bit of travelling for Yeovil to do on Boxing Day. And yeah, a tough one. And if that becomes 2 defeats in a row, then they might be getting worried again because they seem to have won and lost in clusters so far this season under their various different managers.
Yeah, like I say, I think Forest Green have done incredibly well. I've said this, pretty much say this every week, but they lost at Carlisle, and everyone was like, "How will Robbie Savage and his team, respond?" And they've responded impeccably. So massive credit to them. Next up to me, which is Brackley 0, Morecambe 2. This game was. Again, I didn't have great expectations going into this. Obviously, knowing both sides are struggling. I don't know if either of you lads have seen the goals, but George Thomas will never score 2 easier goals in his life. Both were from calamitous defending. The first one in particular, but the second one as well. Morecambe probably were the better side. Brackley had no real attacking threat. But we knew that, with anyone who watched our Christmas quiz, if you haven't, go and give that a watch. Obviously, one of the questions was who's the lowest scorers in the league. Spoiler alert, I'm talking about them. They've got nothing up front, and that for me. If you're losing games, I don't know, 4-3 against your strugglers, then you can be like, right, well, there's something to come from that. But when you're getting beat comfortably 2-0 at home, and both goals were avoidable, both goals were mistakes, I worry for Brackley. I really do. I know we've talked about it previously. So I had a look. Obviously, they're getting sucked into trouble. They're now level on points with Morecambe. But I looked at the next fixtures. So Brackley's the 2 of their next 3 games are against Rochdale and Forest Green. So you've got to think they're not getting anything in either of them. And I think away to Boston was the one sandwiched in the middle, which could be a bit of a, a 6-pointer in there, depending on how Boston do over the festive period. And then I looked at Morecambe's fixtures, and Morecambe's also got Rochdale coming up and Carlisle away. So some big games for both sides in the bid to get out of trouble. But I did say, we've gave Morecambe a bit of stick, we gave the manager a bit of stick, but I think out of the teams down there in them bottom four positions, I think Morecambe, in my opinion, are probably the most capable of stringing some results together. They just seem to just get results. I don't quite know how they do it. There must just be certain games where it all clicks and it comes together. But obviously, there's other games where it doesn't, and they get absolutely hammered. So for me, that's back-to-back wins for Ash now as well. The one in the cup against Gateshead, and then the one in this. So could they have turned the corner, or is it a bit of a false dawn, or Brackley that bad? It could be a mixture of all of it. But credit to Morecambe, because like I said, we've gave them a fair bit of flack over the last few months. And to
You
get
say
back
we've
to
given them flat though, Dan. Nothing compared to their own fans. I was looking through social media today, and their own fans were still not best pleased with the performance, and they've highlighted the 2 goals, and maybe they got away with one, and they're just not convinced by the whole project. There's so much doom and gloom despite winning. You often see it lifted slightly. They're still very doom and gloom up there, and like you said, with some real tough games coming up for them, I feel like the negativity could get even worse there.
Yeah, like I say, for me with Morecambe, I think it was a mixture of the fact that Brackley were that bad as well. I don't think Morecambe were anything spectacular. And like I said, both goals were avoidable. Both goals were mistakes. Thomas will never have an easier 2 goals in his life. I think, for me, it is more about that. But I don't want to take too much away from Morecambe. You've still got to, go there and win them games. So credit to them where it's due. Louis, we're up to you next. I'm not going to say the result out loud, but it was Solihull against your team, Sutton. Let us know your thoughts, mate.
Well, I'll tell you the score was Solihull 4, Sutton 1. Yeah, thanks, Craig. Yeah, we came into it obviously on the back of the FA Trophy game, which Mark likes to mention a lot. Last week losing 4-1 at Walton and Hersham. Aggie wasn't happy about that. Made a couple of signings in the week. Brought in Rodari from Hampton and Richmond, who came into the lineup straight away, and he had 2 good chances in the first half. One was in like the 15th minute, where we pressed quite well, and he had a shot from edge of the 6-yard box, I think it was, on the left hand side. Probably should have done better, and then he flashed a header over the bar as well not long after that. There wasn't really much between the 2 sides. We dominated the possession and the territory, I think, in the first half, and maybe edged it, but it was a pretty dire first half, and if you're a neutral you might have turned it off at that point, but they would have wished they hadn't, because there was 4 goals in 10 minutes at the start of the second half. We took the lead just after half time. A nice finish from Will Tizard's first league goal of the season from him. It was a nice striker's finish from the centre back, sort of pinging around the penalty area, and he takes it down and calmly slots it away. Goalkeeper can probably do better for that one. I think it's one of those where you could save it, but a nice finish nonetheless for him. And then we just, a lesson on shooting yourselves in the foot. It was, I think Sinclair was Solihull's best player, and it came from him. So both the opening 2 goals for Solihull were kind of misplaced passes from us, or mistakes in defence where we couldn't get the ball under control. Sinclair capitalised on the first one, ran down the left-hand side, and played it across for Lipsiu. God knows how you say that name. I'm trying to forget all the Solihull players who scored today. And then Sinclair got his second, and High got 2 in the game as well to give them the 4-1 win. Fruity was sent off for us as well. Captain the side again, got sent off. It's one of those tackles that you probably don't need to make. The camera angle didn't help in my judgment on it at first. I didn't think it was, then I thought it was. And then some Sutton fans on social media saying it definitely wasn't a red card. So I can't really pass judgment on it. But it's a tackle that he didn't need to make. He goes flying in for it. And that's 4 red cards in 3 games for us now. So I don't think we're notoriously a dirty side, but we seem to be picking up these cards a lot. But yeah, as I said, definition of shooting ourselves in the foot. We were the better side for the first 50 minutes. I think we were fairly comfortable, probably deserved our opening goal and deserved the lead, but then just capitulated, and it could have been even more than 4. With the chances that Solihull had in the end. They brought Sabara and Wakeling on as well, which made a difference to their attack. But for them, 1 defeat in 10 league games now, and they're 4 points off the playoffs. So we talked about those teams in that bunch. They are one of those teams. Wasn't entirely impressed with them for the majority of the game, but if they're in there and they obviously beat us, they get the 3 points. That's what matters at the end of the day. for us, it's slightly concerning. Obviously, we had a really good November, but we're only 2 points off the drop zone now. And you look at our run of form that we've got Southend, Scunthorpe, York, Forest Green, and Woking after Aldershot on Boxing Day. So that game against Aldershot is a massive game on Boxing Day at home. And if we don't pick up a win in that game, we could be sitting there waiting for the teams below us to take a hit at us. And only 7 points from our 11 away games. So we know where our form needs to pick up. It's away from home. We picked up our own form. We need to start picking up some more wins and more points on the road. And hopefully this comes soon, because otherwise we could be in trouble again.
Yeah, just going back to what you said about the red card. Anyone who hasn't seen it, Callum posted it on our social media earlier on. He was asking people for their opinion. From the angle I seen, it looks like a red card to me. He's come right through the back of him. It ticks a lot of boxes. The excessive force, reckless. It ticks all them boxes. But again, I'm only seeing it from one angle. If you see it it might look different from other angles. I don't know, but
it's a challenge that he just doesn't need to make. That's the worst thing
yeah,
about it.
he's
I
not
think
going
just
anywhere. He's
hold
not
off your
going.
man. Hold off your man. Like, there's a good 10 to 15 minutes left. You're only 2 goals down. If you nick one, like, you're back in the game. But it killed us even more at that point. Rush challenge, and kicked us out of the game
Yeah,
basically even more.
definitely. Yeah, definitely, mate. Like I said, definition of shooting yourself in the foot, isn't it? Next up, Craig, you were on commentary for this on DAZN. Braintree 0, Hartlepool 0. What was your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I think that's the third 0-0 I've done at Braintree on commentary this year. I've done Forest Green, I've done Sutton, and now I've done Hartlepool as well. So maybe I won't be allowed back on. In terms of the game, I thought it was actually quite a good game. It was two sides that were defensively solid. We mentioned that a lot. Hartlepool getting their 12th clean sheet of the season. That's matches Rochdale, who are currently top of the league. Different Rochdale have got is they put players and put the ball in the back of the net at the other end very frequently, whereas Hartlepool don't. And that was evident throughout the game. Alex Reid had probably the two biggest chances of the game. He hit the post from a tight angle, and then he had another one. I think it actually hit Mason Terry's head rather than his hand on the way over, but it was a save, so nonetheless, it was a good save. A couple of headers from set pieces from them that were well saved by Mason Terry as well. And then the keeper down the other end, George Evans, made a couple of good saves from just some shots from long range. Then Lewis Walker's header in the 94th minute was well saved as well. A fair result, I think, this draw, and ultimately one that both teams will be disappointed with, and both teams will look back and think we probably could have won that game in different situations. But yeah, two defensively solid teams that cancelled each other out, and both teams just need a little bit more quality going forwards. Braintree signed Harrison Duziak from Arsenal on loan in midfield, and he looked tidy. Good little signing. Ben Drake, sorry, his name hasn't come to me. Millwall's under-21 captain came on loan at left centre back. Probably player of the match. Maybe could have gone to either goalkeeper. But yeah, a pretty, I wouldn't say drab affair. One that had so much promise but didn't quite deliver. Just a little bit more quality in the final thirds from both teams, and maybe a bit more goal mouth action would have been great. But an okay point for both teams. Hartlepool could have gone 7th. They could have took that place off Southend and didn't. But yeah, so it feels like that 7th place, no one particularly really wants it at the moment. Southend lost, Hartlepool drew, Halifax drew with Wealdstone. Solihull probably the top runners in terms of form there for the minute. And Tamworth obviously grabbed the win. But yeah, many twists and turns for that 7th place. And for Braintree, with Aldershot and Morecambe winning, it was nice to not drop below them or lose points to them on this weekend. Grab the 1. And then Southend at home on Boxing Day, which will be an interesting one because Southend will always be heavily favoured, but not in the greatest form either. So be an interesting one nonetheless.
Yeah, I agree, mate. And obviously, with it being Hartlepool, you got to meet a famous face while you were there today as well.
Yeah, had a quick chat with Jeff Stelling. Obviously, doesn't go to too many home games these days. I don't think he's actually allowed to go to too many home games. But yeah, it's nice to catch up with him and just ask what his thoughts were on the game. And he summarised it pretty similar to what I did then, that the draw was a fair result. And those are the kind of games Hartlepool need to win if they're serious about a playoff push this season. Just the striker, Alex Reid, was too isolated. And when they did bring on a second striker, they took off their best player in midfield to do so. So a few ill decisions in there from Featherstone as well. But he's a young manager. He's learning his trade, and yeah, point fair result, and no complaints from me or Jeff on that one.
Good stuff, mate. Good stuff. Louis, you're up next. Gateshead 1, Eastleigh 3. What was your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I built this one on the build-up on socials as a game that wouldn't have many goals, and then there was two for Eastleigh within the first 15 or 20 minutes. So what do I know? That's why I've spoiler alert, been bottom of the predictions this week, I think it was. But yeah, Eastleigh opened the scoring through Saunders after about 15 minutes. Set piece came in, and it was worked down the right-hand side, and they drilled it across. Goalkeeper makes sort of a semi-save at it, and then it finds its way in the back of the net. And Aaron Bear doubled their lead not long after. It's just shocking defending from Gateshead, and Eastleigh were comfortable at that point. They moved the ball really well. I can't really remember Gateshead getting into the Eastleigh half that much. Good patterns of play from Eastleigh. Scott Bartlett said that afterwards it was one of the better performances, and they worked it really well. And it was fairly a routine lead at that point, and you could hear the boos from the 300 or so Gateshead fans that had made it in. Yeah, it was a soulless place. There was no commentary. All you could hear was the occasional drumming from an Eastleigh fan and the occasional boo and swear word from a Gateshead fan every so often. But then next time I got back into it, it was a needless kick that was given away by Aaron Pierre as the ball got put over the top for Kane Dom. And he seems to go for the man instead of the ball, Pierre, and he gives away the free kick. And they whip the free kick off the crossbar. It flies up in the air. Frank Nuble's there, friend of the pod, to head into an open net. And you sort of think, oh, the game's back on now. And they had a brief spell where they could have they had a couple of chances and behind a couple of times, but didn't do so. And then second half, Fenton John gets sent off for a second yellow card not long after the second half, and it probably changes the game in that sense. Makes it a bit harder for them to get back in the game. And Paul McCallum adds a third National League journeyman, Paul McCallum, a long time since he scored, I think it is now. Added a third for Eastleigh in the 90th minute. But big win for Eastleigh. Obviously, we spoke about it on the previous pod. Are they getting away with other teams having poor form and not being sucked into that relegation zone? The first league win since the 25th of October. 6 points now between them and the bottom four, so they've got a bit of breathing space now. But for Gateshead, we put out the stat on social media, it's just grim reading. Since they beat Wimbledon in the FA Cup at the beginning of November, they've had 9 games and they've lost all of them. They've conceded 27 goals in that time, and they've scored 4 goals. 2 of them were against us in the 4-2 defeat. They've got the worst home record in the league, 5 points from 11 games. I just don't see. I know they're playing Carlisle next, and I know you're slightly worried about it being a banana skin, Dan. But yeah, I don't think there's anything worried about them. I really, really worry for Gateshead about where their next points and their next win is going to come from. So yeah, clip that up for Carlisle fans to watch. And then 2-0 down on Boxing Day, is it?
I don't want to say anything. Because I just know when I do say it.
Sorry, Dan. Just before we move on to the next game, I saw on obviously social media today that Alan Armstrong, the manager, wasn't there. Unfortunately, he lost his dad on Thursday, so he wasn't in attendance of the game. So just from all of us at the deck and the National League Lowdown, obviously, our deepest sympathies to him and his family, and obviously we hope to see him back on the touchline soon. But it seemed to be a bit of shock news, so he's rightly taking some time to react to that news and come to terms with it with his family, and we offer them all the condolences we possibly can on that one.
Yeah, definitely well said, mate. I didn't know that. That would explain why Luke wasn't in the Carlisle squad then maybe today as well, because I wondered where Luke Armstrong was in the Carlisle squad. But that would explain it. So yeah, condolences, like Craig says, to the Armstrong family on their loss. Next up is me, Boreham 2, Carlisle 0. I've got a few things I needed to get off my chest after the game finished, but I've had time to calm down and I'm more measured in my approach. But I will say the tone was set for the game after 5 seconds. Boreham kicked off, long ball over the top, clean through on goal, put it wide after 5 seconds, and I'm like, here we go. It felt a lot like the York game when we got beat 5-0 at York. We were second best to every ball, offered absolutely nothing. Regan Linney very quiet, Georgie Kelly no service. Midfield ran through like a knife through butter, just defensively poor. Aaron Hayden was looking like he was running through treacle at one point, trying to chase the ball down. Cameron Harper Again, I try not to individualise it. It was a poor team effort, but Cameron Harper's getting picked every week, and every week he's at fault for at least one goal every week. If that was any other job in any other walk of life, you'd be getting pulled in the office by your manager asking why you're making mistakes all the time. I don't understand. So, anyways, Carlisle for me, the most alarming thing for me, and I posted it on social media, was that we were bringing substitutes on of players that let us down last season. So why are we expecting them to bail us out this season? So we're 2-0 down. We're bringing on Jordan Jones. We're bringing out Elliot Embleton, that both let us down last season. We started Stephen Wern, let us down last season. It's like, how can we be expecting these players that let us down one year to be pulling us out the mire the next? I don't quite understand it. I think it shows how poor our recruitment's been. We've signed a lot of players, and a lot of them haven't been a success. Josh Williams is playing every week. I'm not sure what he brings, other than pace. He's fast, but that's it. Like, once the decision making has to happen, there's nothing. Like I said, I think I've said to a few people, I watched Rochdale this weekend. I watched Forest Green this weekend. I watched York this weekend. All three of them are light years ahead of Carlisle. Light years. Like, Carlisle, they'll be getting playoffs at best. Obviously we've got enough points on the board, so I don't think we'd drop out the playoffs. But we need to be looking more around the Scunthorpes and Southends and things like that than looking up at Forest. That was a real reality check today. Boreham Wood played us off the park. It was like a practice game. And again, I like to be even-handed, so it's not just Carlisle were rubbish, which they were. Boreham Wood were really good. Abdul Malik caused us lots of problems. Sousa was picking up the ball in dangerous areas. Matt Rush with his runs off the ball. Like, we talk about Boreham Wood's depth up front and all the attackers that they have. Every single one of them was stretching our defence. Morgan Feeney didn't know whether to come or stay. Aaron Hayden, like I say, he was trying to run after things, but he was just getting outpaced by everybody. And like I say, the first goal was well worked and a great finish from Zach Brunt, to be fair. Second goal for me was just errors, left, right, and centre. Ball comes in Cameron Harper's side. The guy never stops across, ever, ever. Gabe Breeze palms it out straight to Abdul Malik. Like, it could have went anywhere, right to him, and he just slots it home. And like I say, for me, Gabe Breeze is probably him and maybe Regan Linney are probably the only 100% starters in that team. And I think even they're suffering now. Their form's suffering as well. So I do worry for us. And I don't want to say I told people so, but when we had Carlisle supporters saying that we were going to win the league and things like that, I've been on here week after week saying that our form has been good. We've been winning games, but we've been scraping over the line in a lot of them games. And I think now it's coming to fruition. We're getting found out, and we haven't got a plan B. Mark Hughes come out after the game, and he said basically that the effort needed to be questioned and things like that, which he said after the Woking game as well. If that's 2 games in a row, at what point is it on the manager to get the effort out of the players? Why does he keep coming out saying the effort's an issue? And like I said, and then his substitutions contradict that by bringing on players that he's previously questioned the effort levels of. It just doesn't seem to all be smooth sailing at the moment. I'm not entirely sure how we get out of this rut. We'll come to predictions for our upcoming games soon. But honestly, that Gateshead game has got a banana skin all over it. Honestly, I'm telling you. We'll wait and see. But massive credit to Boreham Wood. Deservedly winners. Could have been more than 2. Could have easily been 4 or 5, and we couldn't have had any arguments. They are absolutely flying at the minute. It'll come to a point, I think, and I know people have said with Boreham Wood, and we've said it with cup runs, but they're on a good FA Cup run. It might take a bit of a distraction. It might be a bit of a distraction for the league form. They might suffer, they might not. I don't know, but be interesting to see if they can keep this form up. Because they are well worthy of being up there with Forest Green and Rochdale for me. And the last game is Craig, Halifax 2, Wealdstone 2.
Yeah, I spoke on this one in the prediction show that we've done and said if Halifax turn up at home, it could be quite a routine win. And it looked like that was going to be the case. They won a penalty halfway through the second half. Late on in the first half. And Hamani smashed it down the middle, routine. And when Cody Johnson made it 2-0 after 48 minutes, it seemed a very routine home victory. They had good possession. They were fairly comfortable. But Sam Cox's Wealdstone just never gave up, and they grabbed the goal on the 80th minutes through Hutchinson, kind of felled him in the box, a bit like one of them finishes you described earlier, Louis, when it was pinging around the box a little bit and he's fired neatly into the corner. And that's given Wealdstone a real chance to kind of fight back, and they were starting to throw the kitchen sink at Halifax, but without any real clear-cut chance. It turns out they didn't need a clear-cut chance because kind of slice cross hit Latty Fairweather and looped over the goalkeeper in slow motion almost into the far corner. And it took a moment to realise that it had rippled the net and it was an equaliser, and probably slightly unjust. But you don't care if you're a Wealdstone fan. You've dug in, you've come back from 2-0 down, you've got it back to 2-2, and you're grabbing a point, or at least you think you are. And then 93, 94 minutes, David Cower for I was going to say for Avery, that's who he used to play for Halifax is running through on goal, and he never looked calm and composed, and he's lifted it over the bar, and it could have been all Wealdstone's hard work undone. But yeah, we spoke about the playoffs earlier. Two teams here that are kind of in that best of the rest section after the top six, but Halifax can't build a run together now at the moment. They've been very stop-start after having 5 in a row earlier in the season. I think when they won, I think they struggled in their first 5 or 6, then won 5 in a row, and since then it's been a little bit bitty from them. Wealdstone, this is a good point, especially as they played midweek as well away at Truro. It's not an easy one for anyone. So to come back from 2-0 down today, they'll be delighted with that. But I think the playoffs will be too far of a stretch for them. But if you'd have said to Sam Cox and anyone associated with Wealdstone at the 23 game stage in the season, you'd be talking about just missing out on the playoffs. They'd have been absolutely delighted, because I think a lot of us tipped them to go down, including myself. So no complaints from them there. They'll be delighted with their season so far, and just having a little bit of a free hit towards going for the playoffs. Some games where they are drawing, they might be able to throw a little bit of caution to the wind and just go for it, because they've got that gap to the relegation zone. But we did speak about Brackley earlier, and things can change very, very quickly. If they start to lose 6 in a row, they could start looking over their shoulder again. I don't think that will happen, though. I think if you ask me to pick a position from now, I'd go 13th for Wealdstone, and they'd bit your hand off for that at the start of the season. So can Halifax get the playoffs? I think there's better teams around them, but they've been there, done it, and got the T-shirt. So why not do it again this season?
Yeah, I mean, you've nailed it there. To be fair, there's a lot of teams that could be getting in that last playoff place. I wouldn't like to pick one at the moment, given the form everyone... I mean, if you're going on current form, Solihull Moors have got to be a shout, really. But Southend could easily turn it round. Halifax have shown they're capable.
Just the 4 points between Southend in 7th with 35 and Tamworth in 13 with 31. So it feels like that little cluster there is too good to go down, too good to get involved in the relegation battle. You wouldn't yet rule Yeovil, Eastleigh, Altrincham, the next 3 out of the relegation, but you'd probably say that, yeah, one of them 6 is going to get the playoffs. And if I had to put money on it, I think it'd be Southend, because I think they'd get it right eventually. But it wouldn't surprise me if it was Halifax or potentially Solihull Moors, because like you said, they had the slow start and now they've still joined the others up there as well.
Yeah, I agree, mate. I agree. Obviously, that's all the games covered. We've done it a little differently this week, obviously, because it's Christmas. We've covered all the games because we've seen most of them. We're going to do predictions for Boxing Day now. We're going to quickly just go around and go through the games. So we'll start with Brackley Forest Green. Louis?
Routine win for Forest Green, 2-0 for them. Can't see anything else here.
Yeah, Craig?
Yeah, I'm just going to add one more goal on top of that. 3-0 Forest Green.
I've got 2-0 Forest Green as well. Sorry, Louis.
Copy me again.
Next up, we've got Braintree Southend. Craig?
Yeah, I can't actually make this one. I've got family commitments, so there's bound to be a couple more goals, but I don't think there's going to be many. I'm going to go 1-1.
Louis? Just to see if I'm doing the same again.
I've gone 1-1 as well. I think there's too much to split these two sides. So, yeah, 1-1.
Yeah, I've gone different. I've gone 2-1 Southend. I think Southend get it right eventually at some point. Sorry, Craig. Next up, we've got Eastleigh against Woking. I'll go first, just so we don't look like we're all copying each other's answers. I've gone 1-1 on this one. Like I say, Woking's winning run ended, but their good run ended. But I think they'll have two. They'll be good enough to get something at Eastleigh, and Eastleigh are a funny team. You never know what you're going to get. Craig,
Yeah, Woking are better away. 2-1 Woking for me.
Louis.
Yeah, exactly what Craig said. Woking's home form is their problem, so I've gone 2-1 Woking as well.
Next up, we've got Halifax, Altrincham. Louis?
As I said, previous pods, I'm worried about Altrincham. I've gone 2-0 Halifax on this one. I think home win, banker.
Yeah, I've got 2-0 Halifax as well. Sorry, Louis. Craig?
Similar, but I do have Altrincham to score 2-1 Halifax.
Next, we've got Gateshead, Carlisle. I'll take this one. I've gone 1-0 Carlisle, but I genuinely believe if Gateshead are going to turn it round, it's this game. So I'm kind of covering the bases there. Craig?
Carlisle reaction, 4-0 away win.
Louis?
I've gone for a Carlisle win, not as comfortable. I've gone 2-0, and I think anything else, and I think Mark Hughes is sweating over Christmas.
Agreed. Hartlepool, Scunthorpe next. Craig?
Yeah, I'm going to go for the Mark special on this one, 0-0.
Louis?
I've got an away win. I think Scunthorpe get back-to-back away wins. I've gone 2-0 here.
Yeah, I've gone 2-1 Scunthorpe. Next up, we've got Morecambe, Rochdale. I've got 3-0 Rochdale. Like I say, I was very impressed with them on Friday when I watched them, and thought, I think they'll have too much. Craig?
Yeah, I think Rochdale will have 2 enough. I do think Morecambe will score on this one, though. I'm going to go 3-1 Rochdale.
Louis?
We've got a bit of variety on this. I've gone for a Dale win, but I've gone 2-0 on this one. I watched the first half on Friday and they were outstanding. I think they'll just do too much for Morecambe.
Next up, we've got Solihull against Tamworth. Louis?
I've gone 2-1 Tamworth on this. As I said, wasn't too impressed with Solihull until we shot ourselves in the foot today. 2-1 Tamworth.
Craig?
I've gone 2-1, but the other way.
I've gone 3-1 to Solihull. I know Louis wasn't impressed, but I think they're on a good run.
Yeah, we need to apologise to Jazz Singh on that one as well. He will be doing the guest predictions that will be going live on social media, and me and Dana just backed his team to lose. But he did back my team to lose. That's a little spoiler for you on there. So maybe I was just returning the favour.
I don't know what my excuse is then. Next up, we've got Sutton against Aldershot. Louis?
Before this weekend, I would have said 3 points for us, but I'm not as confident anymore. I've gone 2-2 here. I think it's a must-not-lose game for us.
Craig?
Yeah, I think I'm going to sit on the fence on this one. It wouldn't surprise me if Aldershot goes at 3 in a row, but it also wouldn't surprise me if they lose. So I'm really unsure on this one. So 1-1.
I'm going to back you boys, Louis. I'm on 2-1 Sutton.
Someone
But bear in mind, I am second bottom of our predictions league, so that's maybe not a good thing. Maybe not a good thing. Next up, we've got Truro against Yeovil. Craig?
Yeah, I'm going to back Truro on this one. I'm going to go 2-1 to Truro.
Yeah, I've got 2-1 Truro as well. I didn't think I'd be backing Truro anytime soon, but I think they might have too much here. Louis?
Yeah, I've learned from not backing Truro at home in the last game when Craig got the points in that one. So I've also gone 2-1 Truro.
Oh, nice. We've all gone the same.
See how Jazz and Mark go on that one as well.
Next up, we've got Wealdstone against Boreham Wood. Louis?
2-1 Boreham Wood here. I think they're flying at the moment and I think they carry it on.
Craig?
I'm going to go slightly controversial on this one. 1-1.
I've gone 3-1 Boreham Wood. And then the last game is York-Boston. This might be similar to the previous one with our predictions, where it was just like, are we going to get the score bang on? I think we all know kind of how it's going to turn out, who's going to win.
You mean when we had 3-0 and 5-0 and it finished 4-0?
Yeah, so guess what I've gone for this week? 4-0. Craig?
I'm going to just stick with what I went with York last week, 3-0.
And Louis?
I've gone 3-1 because I think Linnell John Lewis will score against his old club for Boston.
Could happen, could happen. But yeah, obviously that's it for predictions. That's it from us for this year as well. This is the last one. So thanks from all of us at the deck for watching, listening. I know we've only really been at this since July, but we appreciate everyone getting involved, getting in the comments, liking, subscribing. Thanks to all our guests that we've had, from the players to the managers that have been on and all that stuff as well. 2026 is going to be just as good, if not better. So keep your eyes peeled for more coming in the new year. And yeah, Merry Christmas to all of you from us. And Merry Christmas to Craig and Louis. And Merry Christmas to Mark as well, who isn't here, but he'll be back in 2026 with some more controversial takes, I'm sure. But yeah, thanks everyone. Take care, and we'll see you soon.